Hello there, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be watching a video from David Lightbringer. The one that caught my eye is called War Dragons, Racing Dragons, Road Crew Dragons, and More. Extinct Dragons Breed. I think there's more. What else does it say? Extinct Dragon Breed, House of the Dragon. This is something that he posted 8 months ago. I don't know exactly all that it's about, but this was a recommendation. The channel was from Gerardero, and he recommended checking out David Lightbringer. So we're going to watch this video together. I might cut some of it out. I'll watch every single bit, but I don't want to steal his content per se. Granted, I don't know that he'll ever see this, so I don't know that he'd even care. But we'll see. We'll see how much I have to say, and obviously, if I need to cut some of it out, I will. But without further ado, let's just check it out.
Oh, well, hello there. Were you laughing at my bird-eaten copy of Fire and Blood? Well, the real Fire and Blood, also known as The Death of Dragons, is a, quote, blood-soaked tome, which, if you can find, is probably in worse shape than this. However, in that original Fire and Blood, The Death of Dragons, one thing you might be able to read about are the different types of breeds, the different breeds of Valyrian dragons that existed. We're told that the Targaryen dragons were bred for war, which means that some other dragons were bred for other things, and how not, and how not. Of course, just as with dogs and horses, you can have racing dragons, messenger dragons, all kinds of things. So this is a topic I talk about here and there. A lot of people have been asking me to expand on it. It is speculative, but it's very logical. So,
Okay, so looking at the dragons,
this is a topic I talk about here and there. A lot of
wanted to pause on the picture without the stupid play button. But clockwise from upper left, so we've got Moon Dancer, Vaegir, Sea Smoke, and then is this one Arak? I'm so bad with names. Remender, Sunfire. I hate YouTube. I don't know. It's aggravating. I want to see it pause without the play button underneath. Anyways, I mean, you can see, but this is a cool image of the dragons. I don't know that where he got the image or whatever. I would assume he's not an artist. I assume he didn't make them himself, but that's cool to see all the dragons together.
For war, which means that some other dragons were bred for other things, and how not. This is from a live stream that I did this past weekend, a 4-hour dragon lore iceberg. So as I do sometimes with the longer streams, if I have a good idea that's 2.5 hours in, I clip it out for you guys so it exists on its own. That's what we've got today.
That's cool, yeah, because I noticed his live stream. I noticed the live stream, but it was a very long live stream, and I wouldn't mind going back and watching it myself, but I didn't really want to react to a 4-hour video. I just wasn't, I don't know. I just didn't, because with a live stream, there's a lot of, hey, how you doing? Oh, thanks for coming in, that kind of stuff. A lot of times a live stream is not fully content, you know what I mean? Like, it's more like interaction and stuff, so that's kind of why it felt like I didn't want to react to it, but yeah, this is good so far. I mean, he obviously hadn't said much, just kind of the idea of what he's going to bring into the table in this video. I'm glad he's doing a portion of the live stream, because like I said, I was interested, but I just never got around to it. But yeah, this is cool.
So I got a few minutes first on the different ways that the Valyrians used their dragons to conquer and manage their empire. That will lead us into the main section about what I speculate to be the different breeds of dragons. And then after that, I'll have a few minutes about the different dragon fights that we have from the dance and from the conquest, although there won't be any spoilers for season 2. And basically, I'll talk about the fact that dragon fights are insane and to the death, and I'll describe a little bit about their nature. And hopefully all of that will be some nice entertainment for this week, the calm before the storm, before season 2 of House of the Dragon. And of course, you can catch me and Grey Waist Tim and Girl Nettles at the after party. That's right, the after party, after every episode airs each week. of House of the Dragon, of course. So thanks for clicking on the video, and enjoy this little discussion about the Valyrian dragons, how they use them, and what kind of breeds there might have been. Oh yes, and I'd also like to give a thank you and a shout out to two of our artists who I used a lot in this video, Acrosorotaurus, whose dragons you can see on the cover of the video, and of course Hivemind 3D Designs, both of whom do great work, and thanks of course to all of our other artists as well, all of whom are human. Okay, so they've created this giant empire, obviously with the unbeatable power of dragons. I just want to point out that they have a lot of skills for maintaining this empire, which they did for 5,000 years. It wasn't just that they could use dragons to defeat anyone. It had several other advantages, okay? So Dragonstone roads and castles are important because they are able to be built fast with presumably with local materials. Like I said, the roads were a big part of the Roman Empire. Roads are how you move troops, and roads are how you promote commerce. So rapid troop movement allows you to suppress rebellions and makes everyone know that you can do it, okay? And then, of course, by facilitating commerce, you then start knitting together the conquered lands into a more cohesive empire. And after a while, people don't want to go back to more local regional rule because they can just get on a road and go where they want to and enjoy something that appears more like a modern form of life.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Makes sense too. I feel like this guy's going to be very informative with some of his takes on things. You know, I think when I watched Game of Thrones, I think people were thinking, without knowing me or what I'm about, just like at the beginning, you know, I think when people first tuned in, maybe they wanted something more like what this guy's doing, with very intellectual and very being able to break stuff down, and you know, and I just don't have that kind of ability. I do with some things, but when I'm first time watching a show, like, yeah, I'll pick up on some of the stuff, but not always, you know. But those of you that stuck around through Game of Thrones and then House of Dragons, you know, I think you've enjoyed the videos at least enough to come back every week, and I appreciate the interaction I have with you all. But like, because with Game of Thrones, there was kind of a spike at the beginning. You know, a lot of people would watch the videos, and then it kind of tapered off, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is cool. This is cool. We're only 3 minutes in, and I'm already enjoying this.
And you get used to that. It's very comfortable. It's a little safer sometimes. So they use their roads and their ability to make the roads and castles to knit the empire together. That's very Roman of them. Obviously, the dragons facilitate air travel. So like when we put at the map here, you can see there's two sets of roads, right? There's these roads in the south that connect Valeria to Volantis and Voluntheres, Mentares, and then all the way over to Marine. And then there's this whole northern set to connect Sarnath and Sath and Asaria over to Cohor, Norvos, Pentos, and Goyandro. So the dragons are how you get in between there, essentially. And I'm going to talk about using dragons for troop movements. In any case, the air travel is important. Glass candles are the biggest thing. They enable all kinds of cool magic. They are like walkie-talkies, but they can be used for dream implantation as well. Quaithe, with her candle, can speak to Dany and hear what Dany says. So one person with a candle can enable a limited amount of two-way communication. And so once Dany has a candle, her and Quaithe will be able to do much better communication. But Marwyn the Mage talks to Sam about this. He's like, yeah, the Valyrians could talk to each other with their candles. They could sit at a candle thousands of miles away and speak to each other. Do you think that would be convenient? So think about running an empire, waging war. You don't need to send birds. So the Valyrians have a limited modern way of communication. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. The glass candles, I don't remember those being in House of Dragons. Are they? House of Dragon. Glass candle. There's a Wikipedia article for them. or dragon glass candle. They're made from dragon glass or obsidian. Huh. Oh, several glass candles are preserved in the Citadel in Old Town.
This all comes from one sentence that Jorah says to Dany. He says the Targaryen dragons were trained for war. They were bred for war. That's what he says, bred for war, and in war they died. Which made me think, if some dragons are bred for war, that implies other dragons are bred for other things. And the first thing I thought of was the road crew dragons. You wouldn't want a violent and aggressive dragon to make a straight road that's hundreds of miles long. All of the dragons that make fused stone have to work with sorcerers, right? The sorcerers are using fire, or they're commanding the dragons to train their fire on the specific part of the rock they want melted. Then once it's heated, the sorcerers have to harden it into shape, and then they move to the next bit. So that's how you'd have to do a road. You'd have to do piece at a time. Melt, shape, move on, melt, shape, move on and on and on. So like road crew dragons, here's what you'd want. Road crew dragons, you'd want their fires to be very hot. So you'd want big dragons because dragon fire gets hotter with age. But you'd want docile dragons. And we even hear that, and this is another clue about this, Melis and Syrax and other dragons, Silverwing and Vermithor, that are kept up in the Red Keep and they have their food brought to them, they grow a little fat and lazy. They're still fearsome when roused, but they grow tamer. And dragons that are used to being around people are more tame around people, just like any other animal. And you can see the dragon keepers, they can put the dragons away with poles. And you would use those to send messages, to be scouts, or just for racing, just for kicks. The Valerians are haughty and they are, they are hubristic. They're going to definitely have dragon-based recreation.
No, that's cool. That's cool. That makes sense too. That you'd have some just for fun too. But even the sending the messages, I mean, I'd imagine it would be faster than sending a raven, sending a dragon. But also, if you're not using the candle, I guess you can use the dragons instead. But I like the idea behind the road crew dragons too. The hot fires, docile nature. You wouldn't want them killing your own men, getting angry with your own men and stuff. But racing dragons, speed, leaner body shape. It's cool. It's cool.
Troop transport dragons. This could make a lot of sense. If you had a big dragon, one that was a little more tame or just in tight control of a dragon lord, couldn't you load about, 20 good men? If you came up with a bigger, look at Vagar. Vagar is so huge. Let me pull up Vagar from the show. So you see with the cargo net, Lena is a little speck on the back of this dragon, right? You could definitely fit 20 men if you had a bigger harness or saddle. Think about Dune and all the Fremen riding on the sandworms. And they got their little litter, for the Reverend Mother. You could do stuff like that with dragons. So you'd want a huge dragon like Vagar, and then you would just train it to be a little more on the docile side. Maybe you wouldn't use it to fight. You'd use it to move things. Just speculating, of course. But yeah, you could have troop transport dragons. You could also have show dragons.
Why not? The troop transport, if you get 20 good men, I guess. I mean, more like people that you'd use to sneak attack or whatever. I don't know if you could sneak the dragon through places though without notice. I mean, maybe at night people would be sleeping. I don't know. I mean, I like the concept, but at the same time, it's is it a waste of a dragon though? When you could have the other concepts make more sense to me. The troop transport, I feel like you almost would rather have the dragon fight for you than just transport things. But, he's just speculating, and it's definitely possible for sure.
Ones that are beautiful, like Sunfire, So Sunfire, the most beautiful dragon, quote unquote, to ever live, a beautiful golden dragon. Again, the Valerians are vain. They're very into their own beauty and godlike nature. They'd probably have show dragons. They'd have competitions. They would try to breed the most beautiful dragon to show the other dragon lords, okay? And so I started thinking about what kind of a show dragon would you want? Well, you might want them to be small so that you could keep them at your court, like in your throne room, entertain the guests at dinner parties. So you want it to be docile and small, but with the most beautiful scales and maybe the most unusual horn shape and things like that, right? Color combinations. We've just seen, they're all amazing looking, but I think that knowing the Valerians, they'd breed some to be beautiful and some, again, to breed small and docile so that you could keep them at dinner parties and at events, as opposed to your battle dragons. You could also have Hive-Mind 3D and Tessarion, Cobalt Blue Dragon, another one of the most beautiful dragons. In fact, it's
a cool image of them for sure. I like the scales and everything, and I like the images of dragons. These are pretty cool. These are pretty cool indeed.
They could say that Sunfire is the most beautiful, but I'd like to see Tessarion up close. Electric, metallic, cobalt. Anyway, nice artwork here by Hive-Mind. And this is Balerion in the Dragon Pit. It's very old Balerion. They made the dragon look so old. This is like Nana Vagar old. And of course, yeah, near the end of his life, Balerion, more docile. They brought him, you know.
How long do dragons live for? Or does it depend on the breed of dragon? Let me Google this. How long? Balerion living over 200 years. Vagar reaching 180 years. Long lifespans. Dragons are known for their incredible long lifespans, far exceeding those of humans. So I guess maybe 150 to 200 years. Balerion died of old age during the reign of King Jairus Targaryen at least 207 years old. Okay. Vagar died at 181 years old. They can live for centuries. Many die in combat. Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense.
Cows to eat, and he was kept in the dragon pit. So maybe older, larger dragons become, maybe they retire the big battle dragons and turn them into road crew dragons when they're old and tired. Not a very nice retirement. Better than fighting, I guess, but anyway, this art is by Renee Agner. Pretty cool. And here's a little House of the Dragon. Like this one because it shows off the dragon saddle as well as the armor. All the Targaryens wore armor on the backs of their dragons. And the Valerians probably wore Valerian armor, such as what Euron had. You know, the richest ones anyway. Dragon fights, guys, are insane. And they just attack. And once they attack, they never quit. It doesn't matter the size. So, for example, Arrax attacking Vagar was predictable. If you put two dragons close by like that and the riders have tension, the dragons will fight and you will not be able to keep them apart. For the most part, the dragons do follow the commands of their riders. When Silverwing refuses to fly across the wall with Alysanne, she says that's the first and only time that Silverwing ever refused her commands. You know, when we look at House of the Dragon with Aemond, it's like, oh, well, Vagar didn't obey him. Well, Vagar did obey him, though, didn't she? Like, Aemond hates Luke and was using Vagar to taunt him dangerously and then tried to pull up at the last second. That's the only command that Vagar didn't understand, because dragons don't understand pulling up at the last second. Once they're engaged in a fight, they never disengage. Never. So that was Aemond being foolish. So they don't disengage. The smaller ones do try to use agility. And this is the dance, where the dancing comes in. agile movements. That's the advantage the smaller ones have. They will try to come around.
Yeah, it makes sense. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Just the fact that no, his dragon was doing what he was told to do. His dragon knew what was up for sure.
Around and get the other dragon from behind and get him in the vulnerable spots. Now, there's a couple of interesting dragon strategies that we see during the conquest that I wanted to mention. So their castles, they hid in caves, and they just wasted their time. They just wore them out and waited them out, and they could never conquer them with dragons. It wasn't until the dragons died out and they did
jokes are going by too quickly.
Marriage alliances that they brought Dorne into the Seven Kingdoms. Garen the Great defeated an army of 100,000 Valyrians and 3 dragons at Volantharies, and he shot down 2 out of 3 dragons. It says his archers, but I'm guessing those were actually scorpion bolts and not just conventional archers. Because, of course, the Dornish were the only ones in Westeros to shoot down a dragon, which they did with a scorpion bolt. And so one presumes they had better tactics for fighting the dragons because they had the experience of the Rhoynar to draw from. And they knew where to shoot and how to shoot and maybe even how to aim and all that stuff. So, yeah, they shot down 2 out of 3 dragons. Unfortunately, the Valyrians came back with 300 dragons. And, yeah, that was that. Saramel and Coriane were sacked and destroyed. And they melted the river. They boiled the river. The Rhoynish took refuge in the river. There was so much dragon fire that they heated the river itself to boiling, and people burned alive in the river, which is pretty horrific for the Rhoynish who worshipped the river. And that led to Nymeria's exodus. Exodus.
Cool stuff. Definitely worth checking this guy out. David Lightbringer seems to be very knowledgeable in, all things House of Dragons, Game of Thrones. He's got a lot of different content. It all seems pretty cool. Let me know if you guys have checked him out before or what you think of him and that kind of stuff. But yeah, he's been making videos for a while. His oldest videos is about 7 years old. But yeah, pretty cool channel. Thanks for this suggestion. Still not sure what we're going to do next week. Like I said, we were looking at filming myself and my wife, but we haven't finalized anything. So I'm not really sure what content we'll have. I still want to put something together. I just don't know what it's going to be. But, yeah, let me know what you guys thought of that. Let me know if you want to see more David Lightbringer, me reacting to him. I'd be happy to. I just want to make sure, like I said, I'm not stealing somebody's content kind of thing. So, anyways, hope you all have a good rest of your week. Thanks for watching. Bye!